This is the interesting timing, of course, with Brown coming up against some controversy over her recent disclosure that the city paid Police Chief Johnny Jennings $300,000. She's calling it a personal or political attack and a deliberate effort to interfere with her reelection and silence her voice, is what she said in that press statement.
So I do want to point out, over on WFAE right now, the public radio station in town, the U.S. Attorney, the new U.S. Attorney, Russ Ferguson, is talking to Mike Collins. And in that conversation, I heard him say that he inherited this case from the prior U.S. Attorney. So, we're talking before President Trump, the Trump administration turned over. This case had been in the works. That's what he's saying. And I think that's really important. The former U.S. Attorney was Dina King, who I actually went to high school with. And this has been something that office has been focused on for a while. I remember I kind of interviewed one of their task force prosecutors, 2021, 2022 maybe, about their efforts to try to prevent fraud. Kind of walk you through the morning, though, a little bit. I got up really early, to like 5:30.
Yeah,
I couldn't sleep last night. And I see this email pretty early on from Tiawana, who I've talked to many times over the last year for stories that I've worked on. And I immediately started looking in the federal court record to see if we could find any kind of pending charges against her, because this press release basically said she's going to hold a press conference at 8. Obviously, it was pushed back quite a bit to talk about some allegations that were tied to the pandemic before she was on council. I couldn't find anything, but I reached out to her. This is like at 6:20 she called me. And I'm going to tell you one thing about Tiawana is she is never afraid to answer questions. In the short time that I have known her, she has always stood there and answered every question someone has asked. And I think you just saw that right there. When I talked to her, it was very briefly this morning, but she was very defiant in that she didn't believe she broke any law. She was not going to be resigning. She did tell me she had paid back whatever money she had received. I looked through the federal government's tracking site and found that she had received a PPP loan for more than $20,000 that was forgiven. As you just heard, she's saying in the last few months she paid it back. Does that mean that she didn't commit a crime? That is what a trial potentially will ultimately decide, right? As part of this indictment, there's talk about this birthday party that she threw that cost a lot of money, that had a horse-drawn carriage and a throne, allegedly, and several other things. And she wouldn't really answer questions about that other than saying that she paid the money back. She runs Beauty After Bars, a nonprofit that really is trying to stop the cycle of women in particular ending up behind bars. She also owned a retail business, clothing store, it looked like, in the pandemic, that this was apparently tied to this PPP loan. So she wanted to get ahead of this today. Before her press conference could start, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced the indictment against her and her daughters. She, as you heard, is saying that she's only responsible for a small percentage of the money, the total money that the Attorney's Office is suggesting that was fraudulently obtained. I think it was around $124,000. She's saying, Jane, you know the specifics, I'm sure, because she kept repeating it, a little more than $20,000.
$20,833.
Yep, that's what she says she was responsible for. She paid it back. And she also, you heard her say, has the support of her council members. So we've reached out to the city this morning to see if city officials, the mayor, is going to comment about this and talk about just awful timing for the city of Charlotte, too. This has become like the most dysfunctional couple of weeks for city government.
Well, I mean, and isn't that the thing, though? Because people are asking her, what did you do with the money? What did you do with the money? How much did you spend on this birthday party and what have you? But the timing is uncanny among the allegations and the controversy regarding city council and the police chief as well as the mayor.
And, the city council just appointed a new city council member earlier this week to take over Tarek Bakari's spot. Tarek over for the Trump administration, and you heard Tiawana say, I'm not going to resign. You have to wonder if the city council is discussing how are they going to handle this. But I do think this is really important too. The U.S. Attorney on WFAE this morning also said that these are just charges, they have not proven anything yet, and she's innocent until proven guilty. You don't always get that kind of a stance, right?
Right.
And you kind of the thought is, well, how many years is she's facing? The amount of fraud is relatively low, considering there may be 3 people involved here, and that could, impact the outcome too, if she's even convicted or if she pleads guilty. A lot of times these will turn into plea negotiations. I think the U.S. Attorney said they've had about 32 convictions of this kind of fraud since the pandemic. But what you saw this morning from her is on brand. I just want to point that out because she is always available, and whether you agree with her or disagree with her, she is not afraid to speak her mind. She's been one of the most competent members of City Council as far as doing that. She is not one of the ones that's going to sit in the background. And it just goes to show this morning, a lot of people, if they were getting indicted, they would not show up before a bunch of cameras and answer a bunch of questions today.
I mean, yeah, that's what she said. She wanted to get ahead of this, and she doesn't play politics. So, like you said, on brand.
I do think that's interesting, though, because she's saying that this was politically motivated. But again, we're saying from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the prior U.S. Attorney, this was under her case at the time that he then inherited. So what a wild time here in the city of Charlotte. And you just got to imagine, I mean, they just cannot get out of the spotlight right now for all the wrong reasons. The state auditor the other day was opening an investigation about how much the city paid the police chief in this reported settlement. I know we and many others have requested plenty of documents tied to that whole situation that the city has not turned over, has not been transparent with. And now you have one of your council members criminally charged at the federal level. And this is a woman, too. I watched a video of hers just to get a little bit better understanding of kind of her background. She's very proud of how far she's come. She was raised by a single mother, she said, and she's worked really hard to overcome multiple incarcerations and then try to make sure other people don't get kind of sucked into that same cycle. And here she is now, again, in the system. We'll see what happens, but, Well,
I mean, she made history being the first formerly incarcerated person to serve on city council. But like you said, our local government and just local politics is kind of a mess right now on so many levels. Any other questions? Do they remain unanswered, and do you expect to hear from Tiawana Brown anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll follow up with her here in a little bit. But, obviously her daughter's involvement, are they going to say anything? She was very much isolating herself from their case and their cases. So I think that's the real kind of question. What is the defense going to be for the other people involved in this? Is this going to go to trial? Is it going to get dismissed? Is there going to be a guilty plea? She says she's not guilty. She says she's pleading not guilty. That's what she told me. So I expect her to fight. That's what she is. She's a fighter. And, I think she's making this a point. This is kind of, small change in her opinion compared to the big scene of it. And she says she paid it back. Now, if you, and I'm not saying she broke the law, but they are saying it, if you break the law, and then when you get caught, decide to make things right, does that mean you still didn't break the law? A jury ultimately is going to have probably that say.
Sure.
But I think that now we're wondering, what is City Hall going to do? It's just unbelievable to me what they're having, the conversations they're having to have at the government center these last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About the settlement, about the state auditor investigation, about who's going to fill District 6. This is now in District 3, which is kind of Steel Creek, the western side of the city. Are any council members going to come out and support it for her? I know she just posted a couple pictures the other day, Tiawana, with a couple of her colleagues on council, Victoria Watlington and Renee Johnson, kind of, just to me it seemed a bit symbolic based on what's been going on lately. And she was really the first one, too, to kind of confirm there was even a settlement. Publicly, she said that there was like a $300,000 settlement in a Facebook post. Tiawana did. So this is such a wild time as it is. And, we're also wondering at some point, is the mayor going to run for reelection again? And how does this reflect on her? I mean, this in the city manager. I mean, this is just.
It goes on and on.
It's so much. And meanwhile, the county's considering, raising property taxes. And we're all focused on this because it's just been one thing after another over.
Definitely pulling
City
our
Hall.
attention.
Yep.
All right. Nate Morabito, thank you as always for your insight and getting us caught up with Councilmember Tiawana Brown and her live press conference. More to come on WCNC Charlotte. Appreciate you coming in here
Thank you all.
extra early in the Live Impact studio.